probably, okay, we're on. We're hot.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. We've got a special prelude today in honor of Dick and Judy Gammon's 69th wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary to Dick and Judy. Is there a dedication? I can't find the dedication, but happy anniversary to Dick and Judy. And I'm going to play a waltz in A minor by Frédéric Chopin.
Jackie, is their anniversary actually today, or we're?
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know for sure, but.
Oh, yeah. Can we stand and sing?
Okay, good.
Just 2 verses of Just As Long As I Have Breath. Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. And just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
All right, wonderful start to our service this morning. So thank you both so much, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where, as we say each Sunday, we join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or as we like to say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. And also, of course, we want to welcome all of those who are with us today. Thank you all for being here. We embrace all that you come with, all of your unique beliefs, background, lifestyle, experiences, differences, all that helps make you who you are. We had a wonderful Pride parade yesterday for those who were able to go. Huge, huge crowds. It was so wonderful to see so many people. This parade just is becoming remarkably large, especially for a city our size, and the crowds that are just roaring as you walk by. It's so loud you can't even hear yourself think. And I can remember, when I came 15 years ago, how different it was. I mean, there were still struggling to get people to march in the parade, and that sort of thing, and just how far we've come in such a short time to have so many people in the community there representing it, so many people there coming to the community to support and watch it. It's really changed. I know we're in difficult times politically in our country, socially right now, but that's a really good sign that the transformation we worked so hard to make happen has happened. So enjoyed it quite a bit. Anyway, what am I doing? Welcoming people. As I say all the time, welcome to those who are in the room with us. Actually, for those that are live streaming with us who usually look and think there's nobody here, there actually are four people here today. So, but there's a good reason for that, right? That is because we're having our annual meeting today after our second service, so a lot of our members have decided to come to that one so that we can have a quorum and vote on church business after our second service. So that explains the slightly smaller than usual in-person crowd, but I'm assuming a lot of folks are still live streaming with us this morning, so it's good to have you as well. So I already let you know our annual meeting. Those of you who want to come, attend and come back for the annual meeting are welcome to as well. And I did want to, it feels like summer has finally arrived, so I would just, recommend as your minister that you do try to do something fun this summer. Find a good place to get away. I don't have many recommendations, but, I was actually thinking, a place I've never been, I've always wanted to go, is the John F. Kennedy Memorial Center for the Performing Arts. Yes, I've never been to the John F. Kennedy Memorial Center for the Performing Arts before, and I'd like to go to see what is performing at the John F. Kennedy Memorial Center for Performing Arts. So that's just an idea. Anyway, we are going to forego our greeting of one another this morning. Yeah, because you guys can just turn and wave, or you could all just sit next to each other. You could do that too. You're getting close to it. But we don't want to make you have to get all that extra exercise. So we'll just move right into our chalice lighting this morning. The chalice, as I say ritualistically every Sunday, which I enjoy doing, is the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
I remember the late Massachusetts Congressman Barney Frank and his trenchant remark about anti-abortion zealots. The problem with right-to-lifers, he said, is that they seem to think that right to life ends at birth. Very well said, Barney. Representative Frank, the nation's most prominent gay politician who won re-election 12 times before leaving Congress, died this May at age 86. His notable career featured not only stricter banking and financial regulations, but expanding women's rights to bodily autonomy. He sponsored a bill to provide emergency contraception for servicewomen on military bases, another to expand preventive care to help reduce unintended pregnancy, and yet another in 2007 that hoped to revive the Equal Rights Amendment. Frank saw women's reproductive rights as constitutional rights, but he lived to see the U.S. Supreme Court strike down those rights in its 2022 Dobbs decision. The Dobbs ruling was shocking. While the court had overturned its own precedents many times in the past, legal scholars and historians said Dobbs marked the first time in U.S. history that the High Court explicitly revoked an established fundamental constitutional right. Barney Frank was a few years older than me, but we've shared the same trajectory of American history. Until recently, I was optimistic about our social progress as a country. When Roe v. Wade was decided in 1973, I was a journalist and a young mother with a 3-year-old and pregnant with my second daughter. I'd attended college in California, where birth control was only available to married women. In the 1970s in Spokane, I had a TV show on PBS, but could not obtain a credit card or buy a car without my husband's signature. But times were changing due to the women's rights movement, and I'd already seen major social progress while working as a congressional intern to pass the 1965 Civil Rights Act. But now, as you know, the Supreme Court has taken a wrecking ball to that legislation as well, threatening minority representation nationwide. The 2022 Dobbs decision has been really devastating, according to the Guttmacher Institute. The religious right on a tear in Trump's second term is now trying to make it worse by blocking access to medication abortion, criminalizing interstate travel to obtain abortions, and imposing a nationwide ban. So now, instead of a constitutional right, we have a chaotic national patchwork with 13 states enforcing total bans and others forbidding abortion as early as 6 weeks. From 2020 to 2023, medication-induced abortions rose from 53% of the total to 63%. But the people who have traveled out of state for abortions has doubled. But many states are trying to criminalize that right to travel for abortion care and target the people who help them. Idaho, our neighbor state, and Tennessee have already enacted anti-travel laws but face court challenges, including from Washington state. Montana legislators tried last year, but that effort failed. So overall, what are the overarching consequences of Dobbs? Loss of bodily autonomy for women, increasing threats and burdens on marginalized people, including immigrants and women of color, and broader threats to privacy rights, such as using AI to track women's travel, plus a vast, fully funded ICE surveillance system to intimidate and imprison immigrants. As our 250th anniversary as a nation approaches next month, we must restore hope in our future and remember the goal of the Declaration of Independence to ensure life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Republicans who install the current court majority and who seek to control women's bodies are the same people who have slashed Medicaid, closed rural hospitals, censored library books, opposed funding for early childhood education, and in some extreme cases, even opposed birth control and the right of women to vote. Todd will speak further today about what the right to life really means.
Okay, please stand and let's sing Comfort Me.
Comfort me,
We're now going to kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our thoughts this morning. And in addition to a celebratory candle on behalf of the Gammons' anniversary, I also received word this week that Bill and Vern Prouty are celebrating their 73rd anniversary today. So another major milestone. I don't know if they're at home watching now or not, but if you are, Bill and Vern, love you, and amazing accomplishment. So many more, please. We also have, or I should say, we'll kindle candles as we have been on behalf of the people of Ukraine and Russia and Palestine, Israel, Iran, Darfur, South Sudan, so many places suffering from war and violence and hostility, as well as for the many immigrants in our country who continue to live in fear for a variety of reasons. So let's take a moment of silence on behalf of others you might be thinking of, and as always, you're welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. And we have such a small group in person this morning. Let's forego bringing the baskets in, and just if you guys want to contribute something, you know where the baskets are at the door, right? But otherwise, we'll just move right into our offertory music, because we don't want to miss that.
Thank you, Jackie. It's just beautiful. Well, this morning's Time for All Ages is going to be a responsive reading, but the only words you need to know for responding are thank you. Pretty simple. A recognition of volunteers. When there was a need, you came forward. Thank you. In the nighttime and daytime, on weekends, and even in the coldest, darkest parts of the year, you helped. Thank you. Elected and duly appointed, or quietly, anonymously, and unbidden, you did what needed doing. Thank you. Sometimes with the help of many hands, and sometimes all alone, you worked. Thank you. You gave your time, talent, and your treasure for the life of the congregation. Your families and loved ones supported you in your efforts, worried for you when things piled up, and perhaps grumbled at you for the extent of your commitment. Thank you. And so, for all things great and small you have given this congregation, we take time today to recognize and And that is something, I'm so glad Lynn is here. She is one of our stalwart religious education volunteers, leading our Reading Across the Lifespan. So a special thank you to Lynn. And Katie Willard should be her second service. She is another person who comes every month, and she's been helping the kids get our community garden up and running. So give her a special thank you when you see her. And if you are interested in helping out throughout the summer with religious education, we're launching our Play Club program next Sunday. And that's a really low commitment way to get involved. You can sign up with a friend, enjoy your coffee. Alan is coming back, right?
Hopefully.
Okay, Alan should be back with coffee for Play Club. You can enjoy a cup of coffee in the gazebo while the children enjoy our outdoor spaces. And there are other ways to volunteer for religious education as well. Bringing snacks, buying books from our wish list at the Wishing Tree. And for all of those ways of helping religious education, I thank you.
Now, wait a minute, because we cannot let you get out of here without, I mean this in all sincerity. We've been through a few RE directors since I've been here. And I don't think anybody has been able to bring the fun, in addition to the edification, to this program that you have. And you're just the best we've ever had. And so, thank you.
You're welcome.
As we enter into meditation today, find a comfortable position and reflect on these words by Frederick Douglass, the anti-slavery fighter who became the nation's most important civil rights leader of the 19th century. Find out just what any people will quietly submit to, and you have the exact measure of the injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them.
It's a little bit funny, this feeling inside. I'm not one of those who can easily hide. I don't have much money, but boy, if I did, I'd buy a big house where we both could live. And if I were a sculptor, but then again, no, or a girl who makes potions in a traveling show. I know it's not much, but it's the best I can do. My gift is my song, and this one's for you. And you can tell everybody that this is your song. It may be quite simple, but now that it's done, I hope you don't mind, I hope you don't mind that I put it down in words. How wonderful life is, now you're in the world. Now you're in the world.
Thank you so much. Beautiful song, beautifully performed, perfect for today. So I want to begin by offering my personal opinion about abortion. And the best I can say is that it is a terrible choice to have to make. I believe that it ought to be a woman's right to make it, but I do not believe that it should be taken lightly, nor that abortion should be considered a method of birth control. I value the potential lives that those not yet born, I value them so greatly that I support sex education, easy and affordable access to birth control, and planning for parenthood, so that this terrible choice is not one that many would have to face. I also value personal freedom and feel just as strongly that we ought to guarantee a woman's right to choose whether she wishes to remain pregnant or not, up to a point. Although I do not consider all life sacred, not even human life, I do hold great reverence for all of it, especially human life. Sacred comes from an old French verb, actually, meaning to make holy or to consecrate. So it really refers to nothing innately true about that which is consecrated, but refers only to the feelings or beliefs of those who consecrate it. This attitude then may vary from group to group or from person to person, and is no more than a projection of sacred onto a sacred object, if you will, of their own subjective experience of it or feelings about it, which again may indicate nothing that is objectively true about the object of worship itself. So, for example, just because someone thinks a totem pole is a god does not make it a god. Reverence, on the other hand, comes from the Latin verb reverere, meaning to stand in awe of. In English, its definition is to regard with deep respect and veneration. And this word then clearly says something about the projector rather than that which is projected onto, the subject rather than the object. That I hold great reverence for all life, especially human life, says something about me, not about life itself. My feelings toward life, that is, may reflect nothing that is objectively true about it. I am simply a person who regards life with deep respect and veneration. What does seem objectively true about life is that nature treats it with tremendous disregard. Firstly, there are far more prey animals than there are predators. Predators could not have evolved if this were not the case. Predators must continuously eat new prey animals throughout their entire lifespans, which means a one-to-one balance would never have worked, not in our world. A single owl, for example, eats thousands of mice over the course of its life. A little brown bat eats 4,500 insects each night. So in order for both predator and prey animals to coexist, prey animals must vastly outnumber predators, which they do. And owls and bats aren't the only predators, of course, that prey animals have to worry about. At any given time, there are 3 times the number of livestock animals alive than us humans. We are Earth's apex predator. So that's inference number 1. Whether we subjectively hold reverence for life, as I do, or consider it sacred, objectively sacred, as those who call themselves pro-life claim they believe, objectively speaking, we live in a world that is extraordinarily hostile towards life. Inference number 2 is that we live in a world that aborts far more life, at least the potential for life, than it can possibly bring to fruition. This is to guarantee that at least some potential lives, an incredibly small portion of them, will survive the brutalities of existence, at least long enough to produce more offspring. A couple of years ago, for example, a pair of robins built a nest on our porch. 4 hatchlings soon emerged. At one point, a couple of crows attempted to raid the nest. They failed. But it turned out that the nest was made only large enough to accommodate 2 growing chicks. 2 of them were eventually pushed out by their siblings, plummeting to their death. So if this is the norm, it means robins hatch roughly twice as many chicks as survive. In nature, this is similar for most animals, those that lay dozens of eggs to thousands of eggs, reptiles, fish, those sort of things. And those that give birth to relatively large broods of litters, mammals. Over the course of their existence, plants and trees also produce far more seeds and fruit than will ever become plants or trees. A single oak tree can produce 10 to 20 million acorns during its relatively long life, few of which grow into trees, partly because of all those innocent little prey animals that eat them. Likewise, a human male produces about 100 million sperm per ejaculation, but thankfully doesn't produce 100 million kids. Nor does but an infinitesimally small fraction of each woman's approximately 350,000 eggs potentially result in birth. Thank goodness. Like all creatures, humans also have an expiration date. We live long enough to bear and raise children, then we begin to grow old, until we eventually succumb to heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, cancer, or some other fatal illness that eventually kills us. Talk about feeling used. And I could go on with this chain of thought, but my point is that no matter how sacred we consider life, no matter how much we revere it, the reality is that nature wastes more life than it produces. Guarantees only a short life of fear, predation, and an agonizing death. for most creatures, and has assured us that we will all die, no matter how much we want to go on living. Hey, the 4 people are still here for those who are live streaming with us. Wow. Thank you. So bottom line, our attitudes about the abortion issue, along with those of a similar vein, like the death penalty or medically assisted suicide, are really rooted in our subjective feelings as human beings, not the minds of our gods, nor some objective moral truth that we project things onto. Of course, there's nothing wrong with approaching the world from a human perspective, since that's the only perspective we can approach it from. But we ought to do so knowingly, right? Rather than treating our perspectives as if they are based on some sacred or absolute truth that everyone else must agree with and adhere to. Still, those in the pro-life movement say that life is sacred and believe they are acting on behalf of their Christian God by protecting the unborn from abortion. Yet, there is nothing in their scriptures supporting this position. There are, on the contrary, stories in their scriptures in which God calls for his followers to kill everyone, every last man, woman, child, and animal. Indeed, one of their most treasured stories, one that they tell their children as if it were a pleasant fairy tale, which it is the story of the flood. Not a pleasant fairy tale, but a fairy tale. Is the story of the flood, in which a genocidal God wipes out almost every person and creature living on the planet. Nor is there anything among the teachings of Jesus that call for his followers to preserve life at every cost. He does speak of creating an abundant life for those who are alive, which he demonstrated by feeding the poor, healing the sick, and embracing the outcast. He also said there is no greater love than to give up one's life for others, indicating that some things are more important to life than life. And he certainly didn't make an idol out of life like today's pro-lifers do. Christianity's main symbol, the cross, sometimes with Jesus still hanging on it, represents his own such sacrifice and execution, and according to the scripture, his death was itself a type of abortion. The Father sent his one and only Son as the atoning sacrifice for our sins. Where then is this contemporary dogmatism about abortion coming from? It is dogma that has no basis in the Christian scriptures or tradition. As a former fundamentalist Christian myself, I believe it is compensation for a failure to adhere to Jesus' actual life-affirming example and teachings, and for Christianity's historic and continuing disregard for human welfare and life. Jesus never spoke of the unborn, let alone indicated that our commitment to the welfare of others ends once they are outside the womb. He spoke about creating an abundant life and establishing heaven here on earth by caring for the welfare of those who have been born, by feeding them and healing them and including them, everything they need not only to survive, but to thrive as human beings. If pro-life advocates genuinely care about life, why is it that they aren't as incensed about the lack of gun control laws in the U.S. as they are about wanting stricter abortion laws? Why is it okay to restrict a woman's right to choose whether she will remain pregnant, but not okay to restrict a man's right to own a military-style assault rifle, the kinds that are frequently used to slaughter our children in their classrooms, among others, on this side of the womb? Why is it okay to defund and shut down clinics that offer women's health care, prenatal care, contraception, sex education, and abortion to those who choose it, but not okay to take away the guns that are being used to kill people on the streets, in their homes, schools, and businesses? Why is it okay for our Supreme Court to turn the matter of abortion over to the states, but then to insist that to own weapons, unlike any weapons that ever existed when our country was established, is a nationwide constitutional right? Come on. Where are they when it comes to protecting the lives of the living from the deadly and destructive consequences of global warming? An undeniable reality they not only neglect, but continue to deny, gaslighting the rest of us while also blocking us from doing anything meaningful to collectively address this lethal situation. Where are they when the fires burn down our communities? Where are they when the rivers of rain fall so quickly they unexpectedly drown our children asleep at summer camp? Where are they when the President of the United States forcibly separates children from their families and puts them in cold cages on a concrete floor? Where are they when 50% of those living in poverty are children on the streets of Gaza? Where are they when bombs drop on those streets, killing scores of innocent civilians, mostly children, in a ruthless and act of vengeance and retribution? Where are they when it comes to ensuring that children born in this country have adequate food and shelter and clothing and security? Where are they when it comes to ensuring that they have adequate health care? Where is their concern for life and for the living in these matters as well as others? A few years ago, I was dropping something off at the local Planned Parenthood and was approached by a so-called pro-life advocate in the parking lot. After telling me that abortion is a sin, I asked, well, then you must be in support of birth control, sex education, and planning for parenthood. Well, we're for abstinence-only birth control, she responded. Such contradiction, if not hypocrisy, is why I conclude their dogmatic obsession with abortion, which requires them to put no real skin in the game, is but a ruse to convince others, but mostly themselves, that they are good Christian people doing their religious duty to do exactly what Jesus said, protect the lives of the unborn, which he never said. Rather, if Jesus were alive today, my guess, he'd be risking his life on the streets of Gaza, or in Iran, or with worried parents who can't afford to take their sick children to a doctor, or with those whose homes have been burned down because of an unnecessary climate crisis, or with anyone else whose life and livelihood is being diminished by neglect and cruelty and injustice. Born is not enough. If people want to follow Jesus, then do as he did. Feed the hungry, heal the sick, care for the poor, welcome the outcast. That's what it means to be pro-life. It's not about unborn American fetuses, but about the welfare of every living being on the planet and the welfare of the planet itself, which sustains all our lives. Yet as I began, I also believe that abortion is a terrible choice to have to make. I believe this is so because I care more about human potential than I do human life. Let that one sink in. I care more about human potential than I do human life. I agree with social psychologist Erich Fromm, who said that the whole meaning of life is to develop into the individual one potentially is. and that the duty to be alive is the same as the duty to become oneself. Yet too many of us waste our lives, either because we don't realize that it is about finding and fulfilling some greater purpose and calling, or because our social system is such that we must spend most of our lives pursuing our most basic needs and have little time, energy, or resources to concentrate on anything else. Aborting our potential in maintaining social systems that require too many of us to abort such potential, that's the real sin. And this is another human reality that societies prefer not to face. Instead, we tell ourselves that life is about growing up, getting a job, and spending our lives working just to pay our bills. That's often what becomes the meaning of our lives. But it isn't, and it shouldn't have to be. That kind of life only addresses the bottom half of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, often inadequately at that. It doesn't promote the upper part of the pyramid, reflecting our need to fully unfold as individuals by finding love and belonging, self-esteem and purpose, and to strive not just to get by, but to find meaning beyond ourselves in the service of others and of life itself. As a first principles thinker, I don't value life for the sake of life itself. I ask what life is for, and thus value it for its potential. And I consider it tragic if such potential is lost for any reason, due to premature death, poverty, oppression, depression, murder, war, the chronic struggle to make simple ends meet, and yes, because of abortion. In my mind, when a zygote is formed, human potential exists. And the loss of such potential at any phase of existence is tragic. I have a small Mickey Mouse here, baby Mickey Mouse, that's 36 years old. I bought it for our baby soon after Peggy learned she was pregnant with our first child. And I remember how excited we were to hear its heartbeat at just 6 weeks. A heart full of human potential. And just a couple days later, Peggy had a very painful miscarriage and had to be rushed to the emergency room for a DNC, which in clinical terms means to remove tissue from the uterus. And that little flicker of life, it turned out, wasn't viable. Not any more than the millions of sperm and hundreds of thousands of eggs that missed their chance at an opportunity for life in favor of that failed pregnancy. But I still keep baby Mickey where I can see him every day. And of course, whenever I pick him up, I still tear up. As a reminder of the human potential that ended 36 years ago. Sometimes I pick him up and I wonder about the person whose unforgettable heartbeat I heard so long ago might have become. And I also know that if that pregnancy had lasted, the 2 children we do have would not have been born. And I can't imagine my life without theirs in it. Still, sometimes I wonder if multiverse theory is correct, if there's a world out there where our first child was born and is alive. And what kind of life they're living. And what kind of life I'm living. Because they're in it. So, born is not enough. That's where the pro-lifers get it wrong. Life isn't about being born, nor merely breathing and having a heartbeat. It's about becoming. It's about realizing our potential as individuals and as a species. And that's the point that I think most of us miss, regardless of what side of this issue we're on. Now, I'm going to actually close with a song, and I'm not going to sing it. It's a song that I created with AI, regardless of how some feel about that. I love being able to create music that speaks to me on so many issues, including this issue, which is very important to me. So this is a song called "Where." What is it? Where are these people then? I think is the name of it. So you'll be able to read the lyrics on the screen. So if you want to, you can listen, but also follow along. You're welcome to turn your chair around or sit over there, whatever. All right. Thank you. Sorry for the tears. Okay.
You stand outside that clinic door, holding up your cardboard crown, quoting verses that are scared girl, while the cameras circle around. You call yourself a guardian of a life you've never known, but you turn that channel every time. The school cries on the phone. Where are these heroes then? When the sirens start to bend the morning air. Where are these heroes then? When the chalk dust mixes with the frightened prayer. You shout about the unborn, but you're quiet when they fall again and again. Tell me, where are these heroes then? You talk about the sacred breath as the bombs fall overseas. Tiny shoes in broken glass, blown across a foreign street. You march against a desperate choice, but not for food or decent care. Close your eyes as the fires rise. Pretend there's nothing there. Where are these heroes then? When the classroom turns into a battleground. Where are these heroes then? When another small name never makes a sound. You fight for those When the water's poison, future sold for gold. Where are these heroes then? When a mother chooses heat or to catch a cold. You raise your hands in judgment, but not to lift your neighbor up again. Tell me, where are these heroes then? Where are these heroes then?
All right, that's all I got. Thank you for listening. One more time.
One more time. Yeah, let's stand and sing our last hymn. How could anyone?
How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. And how could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
I leave you today with the words of poet Adrienne Rich. My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed. I have to cast my lot with those who, age after age, perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom. I know, precisely. Yeah, right. Well, he's going to recommend that they vote against it.